Of course, we now know the legacy of The Matrix. It's widely considered one of the greatest science fiction films of all time. In the early 90s, Hollywood didn't want to take a chance on two untested filmmakers with an idea purely in conception. Welcome to Patrol Clip. Today we're going to take a look at how one of the most influential films of modern times made it to the big screen. But before we begin, of course, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell to stay up to date with all our videos. And here we go. Number 10. The Origin. The Matrix never would have come to be if not for one crappy film, 1995's Assassins, a lazy action vehicle for Sylvester Stallone and Antonio Banderas, directed by Richard Donner. This was the Wachowskis' second completed script. Assassins was optioned by legendary producer Dino De Laurentiis, and he sold it to Warner Brothers for 5 times what he paid. Aww. Brian Helgeland, who wrote L.A. Confidential and Mystic River, was brought in to overhaul the script, and Lana Wachowski claimed that Helgeland's rewrite was just too different from their original script. The Wachowskis tried to have their names removed from the credits, but I suppose it wasn't all bad considering that Assassins paid for a renovation of their parents' house and earned a deal with Warner Brothers.
I'll never be number one.
Why can't you two just kiss and make up?
You sick little bitch. Papi.
Goodbye, Miguel.
Hijo de la gran puta, me voy a quedar.
Their manager, Laurence remembered that nobody understood The Matrix when he first sent out the script in 1994, and Warner bought it half out of the relationship with the Wachowskis and half because they thought something was there. Nothing wrong with a foot in the door. Number 9. The Direction. Producer Joel Silver, whom they showed their script for The Matrix early on, was immediately blown away. The minute I started reading the script for The Matrix, I wanted to see it, he remembered. But then the Wachowskis said, and we want to direct it.
That's the one. That's the look.
Well, that was going to be tough. Instead of taking a gamble on a script that was obviously going to take a big budget to realize, Silver took a cautious approach. He greenlit Bound, a smaller piece about lesbian lovers on the run from the mob, which the Wachowskis would write and direct. The film, made on a tight $6 million budget, was almost enough to convince Warner Brothers to let the newly minted directors proceed with their passion project. Everyone seemed to agree that The Matrix was a great script, but nobody could understand the Wachowskis' vision in the least.
How good is a phone call if you're unable to speak?
Number 8. Storyboards. The Wachowskis and other artists created storyboards and concept art that finally sold Warner Brothers on the project. Obviously, it took more than words on the page to illustrate the Wachowskis' shared vision, so they turned to Steve Scroce, who had worked for Marvel on Amazing Spider-Man and Gambit, among others, and Jeff Darrow, best known for his work on the Frank Miller series Hard Boiled. Lana Wachowski jokes on BuzzFeed that producers were so confused by the premise of The Matrix that nobody understood. Why don't the heroes just blow the Matrix up like they do with the Death Star?
Movies are matrices. We thought that would be like the instantaneous sort of insight somebody would have. Like, oh, well, you know what? You're making this Matrix, but movies are matrices.
Over 600 illustrations were created by Scroce and Darrow, and for the first time, executives were able to visualize how this crazy script would translate to the screen. The artwork was so impressive that it was collected in a hardcover volume, The Art of the Matrix, in 2000. And it was enough for Warner Brothers to greenlight a $60 million budget for The Matrix. And it's easy to see why. Number 7. The Cast. The cast was to be decided by Warner Brothers, although the Wachowskis had opinions of their own on the matter. Composer Don Davis revealed that the casting process was extensive and considered nearly every hot actor in Hollywood at the time, and that Keanu Reeves was not the Wachowskis' first choice. Their first choice for Neo was Johnny Depp. The studio wanted Brad Pitt, but he turned it down, as did Val Kilmer and Will Smith. For the role of Morpheus, Samuel L. Jackson was their original idea, as was Gary Oldman. The studio's choice was Sean Connery, who revealed that he was offered the role but turned it down, leading to the casting of Laurence Fishburne. The studio wanted a less expensive supporting cast. Lesser-known names were considered, as Carrie-Anne Moss has stated that she had no career before she was cast as Trinity. Will Smith had said he's glad he turned down the role, as Reeves ended up being brilliant. Could you imagine The Matrix with a completely different cast? I don't know. I just don't see it.
Oh, man.
But this Neo, for sure, well, he's got no regrets. Number 6. Location. The decision was made to shoot The Matrix on location and on sound stages in Sydney, Australia, looking for low budget. Sydney offered a perfect layout and architectural styles for depicting the nameless, anonymous city where the action takes place, says producer Joel Silver. 30 sets were built with futuristic-looking settings such as the interior of Morpheus's ship, the Nebuchadnezzar. Try saying that 10 times fast. But the largest set stood in for a more mundane location, the government office building where the insane second act shootout takes place. It took up an entire block and required a translight, which is a backdrop that's lit from behind to look totally realistic, roughly half the length of a football field and 4 stories high. Number 5. The budget. Warner Brothers initially budgeted the film at $10 million, which the Wachowskis considered not enough to bring their vision to life. The Wachowskis promptly spent the entire budget on the film's iconic opening scene to impress the executives into forking over their entire requested amount of $60 million. Special effects supervisor John Gaeta discusses what really happened. The production was falling significantly behind, and executives got frustrated. So the Wachowskis and Gaeta got together to make a plan, and in over a weekend, they cleaned up the opening scene and its visual effects, added in some temporary sound effects, and sent it to the studio. And the plan worked. Warner Brothers immediately backed off, and at that point, they totally supported the movie. The shoot ended up taking 118 days, nearly a month longer than scheduled. Number 4. Choreography. Close quarters martial arts combat with elements of wire work as seen in Hong Kong action epics is what the Wachowskis was wanting to go for. So they decided to appeal directly to the world's foremost authority in martial arts choreography, Yuen Woo-ping, the man who made Jackie Chan a star. Whoop-ha! I really don't know how they got my number. I got a call from Hong Kong saying that these two brothers were really interested in talking to me, Yuen said. The Wachowskis sent him the script, and unlike Warner Brothers executives, Yuen got it immediately. His work began months before they started rolling, to the initial shock of the cast, who may not have known quite what they were getting themselves into.
I know Kung Fu.
Show me.
Number 3. Let's fight! Reeves, Moss, Fishburne, and Hugo Weaving were subjected to a brutal training regimen that would have put even professional athletes to the test. Fishburne remembers, I initially thought we were going to be doing Kung Fu for maybe 4 or 5 weeks, something like that. It ended up being months and months of training. The decision was made early on that the actors would perform their own stunts. And Yuen was challenged to make these ranked novices look like they'd been performing these maneuvers all of their lives. There, of course, were also some injuries involved. Keanu Reeves hurt his neck, Hugo Weaving hurt his leg, and this complicated the process naturally. Hugo Weaving said in his own words about Yuen and his team, initially I think they took us on and saw we were useless, hopeless at Kung Fu, but they slowly realized after a couple weeks that maybe we were going to be able to get to a level where we would be halfway decent. Well, we gotta say, great work to you guys, because y'all look like experts. Number 2. The tech. It was absolutely stunning in 1999, as there was no effect quite like one that had ever been seen before, the effect known as bullet time. We've seen this effect referenced, imitated, and parodied a million times since it was created. Bullet time creates the effect of a shot moving into extreme slow motion. Slow enough to track the trajectory of whizzing bullets, while the camera appears to pan around or track the events at a normal speed. The Japanese film Akira and director Michael Gondry were the influences to the effects supervisor Gaeta for the concept. Gaeta said, "His music videos experimented with a different type of technique called view morphing. Our technique was significantly different because we built it to move around the objects that were themselves in motion, rather than the static action in Gondry's music videos, with limited camera moves. It was constructed completely in green screen, into which a circular array of 120 still cameras and 2 motion cameras were built. Each sequence was first digitally simulated, then staged with the camera array to shoot a specific sequence with precise timing. The name Bullet Time is a registered trademark of Warner Brothers, so forget about copying it. This is no doubt one of the most memorable and readily identifiable contributions made by The Matrix to popular culture." Number 1. Sharing the set. The film Dark City, which was released in 1998, has been noted as being very similar to The Matrix. Well, that could be because they share sets. Dark City's sets, including the rooftops over which Trinity makes her initial escape from the agents, were reused for The Matrix. Roger Ebert gave The Matrix a moderately favorable review, although accusing it of ripping off the earlier film, which is highly unlikely, of course, since the Wachowski script was written long before 1998. Ebert kept comparing The Matrix unfavorably to Dark City, which he considered to be one of the greatest films of its time. In 2005, he stated, "Dark City preceded The Matrix by a year, and on a smaller budget, with special effects that owe as much to imagination as it does to technology. It did what The Matrix wanted to do earlier, and with more feeling." Well, I don't know, Ebert, but what do you guys think? Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this video. We hope you enjoyed it, and of course, Patrol Clip does want to hear from you, so make sure you leave your comments below, hit like, subscribe if you haven't, ring the notification bell, do whatever you got to do to just let us know that we're on the right track. And until next time.